Hi everyone, it's Gigabeef here, and today we're going to be looking at the second quest in the Punisher questline from Prapor. As I've mentioned many times before, the Punisher questline, in my opinion, is one of the best in Tarkov and is absolutely worth doing as soon as you're able to as a newer player. Not only does it push you to get better and make you play the game in a different way, it has one of the best rewards in the EFT questlines for a standard account player, which is the 8-slot Epsilon secure container, which allows you to take in 8 items that you keep on death. This is a massive upgrade from the 4-slot alpha, but for me, the Punisher was a turning point in my play, taking me from a scared beginner to intermediate EFT player, which was mainly around how it changed my thought process versus PMCs in the later parts. There are 6 quests in total, and I'll be covering all of them with a video for each one. So stick around, and let's get going. This guide is actually going to be a little shorter than the last one because the quest is very similar to Punisher Part 1. Let's jump right in and have a look at the requirements. So first up, we need to kill 12 Scavs on Shoreline with a suppressed weapon, which is the main quest. However, we also need to find 7 lower half masks in raid. Addressing the last point first, these lower half masks are found randomly on Scavs, which you should just be able to pick up through regular play. Hopefully you knew about this requirement before and started collecting earlier so that they're ready to hand in right away. This is why I mentioned them already in the first part of my Punisher series guide. However, if not, they are not rare items, so you will find enough eventually if you keep focusing on looting dead Scavs. If you need to boost it right now for progression though, try using your Scav on factory a lot and checking all the dead Scav bodies once it's calmed down in the final 10 minutes of the raid. For the main part of the quest, the requirement is to kill 12 Scavs, again on Shoreline, but this time with a suppressed weapon. Now this is very similar to the first Punisher quest, except the weapon restrictions are quite badly implemented, which I'll explain in a second. In the event that this changes, be sure to check out the wiki page which lists the most up-to-date problems for this quest before you set out. It really will save you a lot of time. The issue is that the newer a weapon or suppressor is in the game, the more likely it won't work for this quest. This is a problem that you see across multiple tasks in EFT, and is indicative of a system where the guns or suppressors that work have been hard-coded into the game, rather than given some kind of identifier as a suppressor, so when something new gets added, it doesn't automatically work for the completion of the quest until it's manually updated by BSG. So please do check the wiki for any updates before you go out, but at the time of creation, the following are listed to not function. Within suppressors, you have the Rotor 43 762x54, which is for the SVD, the Surefire SOCOM RC2 silencer, which is the M4 Find and Raid suppressor and one of my favourites, the KAC PRS QDC 76251 suppressor, and then outside of that, some guns just simply don't work at all. So that's the SR25, the R11 RSAS, the MP9, the MP9N, the PB 9x18 pistol, and the DVL. As you can see, the list is quite extensive, but outside of that, you should be able to use whatever weapon that you want. However, because of the nature of the previous quest, I tend to use the AKM series again, as firstly we're likely to have a few hanging around from part 1, some potentially coming back on insurance, and also given that we've got some practice with it already, it seems logical to carry on using them, although they are not quite the cheapest choices that you can make. There are 5 sensible suppressor choices for the AKM, 3 of which attach directly, and 2 which need a Tacticatula converter to attach them. You can get them from the traders, but it's almost always cheaper on the flea, and you can pick them up pretty much for 25 to 30k each. They vary in stats, but the best one is the DTKP as it gives minus 4% recoil and only loses U6 ergonomics. First up we have the Rotor with minus 3% recoil and minus 9 ergo, then the Hexagon with minus 3% recoil and minus 10 ergo, the PBS with minus 4% recoil and minus 12 ergo, the DTK with minus 4% recoil and minus 9 ergo, and then the best with DTKP Mark II with minus 4% recoil and minus 6 ergo. If I was you, I wouldn't bother with the Silencer Co multicaliber because it's really expensive. If the AKM platform isn't really your thing, there are some other cheaper choices potentially like the Rotor 9x19, which is around 10 to 15,000 on the flea, which can fit onto an MP5 with a threaded lug from Peacekeeper 2. Or alternatively, the Vichaz 9x19 for the PP19. The Vichaz is around 20k and the MP5 is around 30k as stock, and both fire the 9x19 round, which is the reason why I'm not a massive fan. PS rounds for 7.62 AK still pack a decent punch and are one of the best value rounds in the game, but the low end 9x19 rounds leave a lot to be desired and will cause you some issues if you end up going against someone with armour unless you can snap a few headshots. I wouldn't recommend the pistol silencers, as although they are the cheapest in the game, if you meet a real player it's very tough to win that fight, hence why I'd rather have a proper weapon despite it being a bit more expensive. But it's just good to remember that there are some other options outside of the AKM platform if you prefer. In terms of the actual scav killing, rather than repeating myself, what I'm going to do is point you to my guide for Punisher 1, because as it's also on Shoreline, it has all the same scav spawn points and ideas behind the route that you should take, and is directly applicable to this quest too. So check it out, and good luck. Please do remember to sub and hit the bell if you like what you see, and it really helps out the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter and Twitch to catch me when I'm going live. Until then, I'll see you next time, and as always, have fun in your raids.